Look for confirmation. Okay, so we are indeed going live here. So we'll get started. I'm going to switch this off here. And we'll get started. Thank you so much for joining the call here today. Those of us watching us on Facebook, YouTube, as well as in the Zoom room here. We'll get started with our Bhagavad Gita after the short prayers to the spiritual master. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjan Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padkamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Gopremanande Hari Hari Bol. Okay, so which words are we going to do today from the Bhagavad Gita?
25.
Verse 25 for 500 points. Awesome. Okay, so let's get going. We'll bring up verse 25. Let me bring it up on my screen here. And I'll start sharing the screen with you momentarily. Okay, Zoom, come on, let me share my screen. Okay, 6:25. Here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, śanair, uparamed, buddhyā dhṛti-gṛhītayā, ātma-saṁsthaṁ manaḥ kṛtvā, na kiñcid api cintayet. śanair uparamed, buddhyā dhṛti-gṛhītayā, ātma-saṁsthaṁ manaḥ kṛtvā, na kiñcid api cintayet. śanair uparamed, buddhyā dhṛti-gṛhītayā, ātma-saṁstham manaḥ kṛtvā, na kiñcit api cintayet. So synonyms: śanaih, gradually; śanair, step by step. Right? So look at the beauty of the language. Gradually, which is step by step. Uparamet means one should hold back. Buddhyā, by intelligence. Dhṛti-gṛhītayā, carried by conviction. Ātma-saṁstham, placed in transcendence. Manaḥ, mind. Kṛtvā, making. Na, not. Kiñcit, anything else. Api, even. Cintayet, should think of. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction. And thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. Okay? So it sinks gradually, step by step. And what is the Sanskrit for step by step?
śanair.
Śanair, gradually or step by step. So step by step means śanair. So one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction. And thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. Okay? So this step-by-step thing, right, that we are talking about, in the context of the chapter that we are reading for many months now, which is chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita. What does chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita focus on?
Dhyana yoga.
Dhyan yoga.
Huh?
Dhyana yoga.
Okay.
Dhyan yoga.
All right. So Dhyan yoga, we talked about 2 stages of yoga, right? What were the 2 stages of yoga? 2
Yoga
stages.
ruksha, yoga rudha.
Yoga yuda and yoga ruksha.
So we start with which stage?
Yoga ruksha.
Yoga ruksha.
Right, yoga ruksha, and then we become yoga rudha.
Ruda.
Right? Arudha means you have climbed that ladder, right? So from the stage of yoga rukshu, going up to the stage of yoga rudha, right? They are saying śanair,
Step by
slowly,
step.
gradually, step by step. Okay. So now in the context of this chapter, what were the steps that we talked about? I will give you a hint. There are 8 steps.
Oh, the yoga ladder.
Yama, niyama,
Yama,
asana,
asana,
pranayama,
pranayama, pratyāhāra,
pratyāhāra,
dharana,
dharana, dhyana,
dhyana, and
Samādhi.
samādhi.
Right? So in this one, let's see. Let's bring up the verse again. So he's saying, śanair, uparamed. Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, sustained by full conviction. And thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. So when the mind is fixed on the self, and self is started, the word self is starting with lowercase s or uppercase s here?
uppercase.
Uppercase. So what does uppercase self mean?
Paramatma.
Paramatma, right? So the mind should be fixed on the self alone and nothing else. So when your mind is fixed on the Paramatma and is not fixed on anything else, what is the stage in your Ashtanga Yoga?
Dhyan.
When your mind is fixed on Paramatma and nothing else.
Samādhi.
Samādhi, exactly. You are in Samādhi. You're not thinking of anything else other than the Lord is Samādhi, right? So that this verse is actually telling you the real topmost thing, right? Samādhi. In the context of this chapter, right? So to think of the Lord and nothing else, right? But Bhakti Yoga goes a little bit beyond that. Say that, not just thinking about the Lord, you have to also do something for the Lord. Bhakti Yoga is all about activity and all about actions, right? So just to set the context, right? What this verse is talking about, how this verse fits into the whole chapter that we have. Okay. So now let's go inside and look at the purport by Srila Prabhupada. By proper conviction and intelligence, one should gradually cease sense activities. This is called
Pratyāhāra.
pratyāhāra, right? You are gradually ceasing sense activities. And what does pratyāhāra mean for us? It was you're withdrawing your senses from the sense objects, right? That's the meaning of pratyāhāra. Just like the example usually given is, just like a tortoise draws its limbs inside and will take out the limbs only when they want to use it. And most of the times they will be withdrawn, right? So this verse is telling us that we should do that, right? Gradually. The mind being controlled by conviction, meditation, and cessation from senses should be situated in trance or samādhi. At that time, there is no longer any danger of becoming engaged in material concept of life. In other words, although one is involved with matter, as long as a material body exists, one should not think about sense gratification. One should think of no pleasure aside from the pleasure of the Supreme Self. This stage is easily attained by directly practicing Krishna consciousness. Okay, so Prabhupada is saying that, instead of going to a high place or a low place, not too high, not too low, finding am I going to get the kusha grass now in America, right? Where can I find a place where there's no noise, so on and so forth, and then meditate, and my mind goes all over the place. And finally, śanair, step by step, I'll do all that, and I will finally be able to focus my mind on the Lord. And I know that there can be many, many dangers on the way, and we have talked about the stories from Bhagavatam in the previous chapters about Vishwamitra, Shaubari Muni, so on and so forth. We've also heard about the story of Haridas Thakur, right? How he was able to control his senses because he was practicing bhakti yoga in contrast to others who were in dhyan yoga. Right? So in this verse, Prabhupada is saying that when you reach the stage of samadhi, then there is no danger, right? You have reached that stage. And and then one of the words that he uses is that as long as you have a material existence, right? So it could be that the soul will continue to remain in the body for whatever reasons. And you might see that person eating, doing regular mundane material work, but you do not know their consciousness because we cannot see. Jiva soul cannot see another Jiva soul's consciousness like that unless they have mystic powers. So we do not know what's going on inside our head, but they are totally removed. So their senses are there. They will see, they will do all that. So, but they're not doing it for their own pleasure. They are doing it for the pleasure of the Lord, right? So here, one of the words in this particular verse is dhṛti-gṛhītayā. What is the meaning of dhṛti-gṛhītayā?
Carried by conviction.
Carried by conviction, right? So dhriti is conviction, grihitya, right? So carried by conviction. So how are you going to get the conviction? You have to be convinced first, right? Before you can do something. And our problem here in this material world is that we are surrounded by a very nice salesperson, or actually the salesperson lives inside us, and which in some philosophies, they will use words like that's the devil, or they'll use the word like that's the dog, inner dog. We call it the mind, right? So we have this 24/7 servant inside us. Even when the intelligence goes to sleep, mind does not sleep. Right? And this mind of ours is a salesperson and will be telling you all kinds of nonsense things. And this sales manager, actually, let me call him as a sales manager because he's got many salespersons who help him, right? Which is our senses. So our senses are going to go outside and they fetch the information, right? But what is it that drives our senses? What is the driving force behind the sense? That my eyes go and they see something. In a room full of many things, my eyes go and see a particular thing or few particular things. What is the driving factor behind that? What drives our senses? Starting with knowledge sense. Yeah, I'm looking for a little bit more detailed. It is our desire. Our desire to enjoy a particular thing for ourselves. That is going to drive our desire, our senses to go and seek that. So senses are already always seeking something. They're looking here and there, here and there. They're looking, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Right? So they are looking for that, and they are driven by the inner desire that we have. So, as the Prabhupada says in the Purport, that as long as you are in this body, right, your senses will still act because you're in this body. The senses will still see things. It's not that, once you achieve samadhi, you become blind. You will still see things. Your eyes will still see things. But what is driving your eyes from inner is no longer a desire to satisfy yourself. It will be a desire to satisfy Kṛṣṇa. So again, when you go into a room full of, food or fruits, or, go to a grocery store, instead of saying, this is what I like to eat, you will say, okay, let's see what Kṛṣṇa likes to eat, and you'll buy that and you'll cook. So you see, from inside, our desires are coming, and from inside, our desires are getting purified, right? But that purification is very, very important to have, right? Otherwise, because of the millions and millions and millions of years in which we have stayed in this body, right, in various bodies, and done various kinds of things, and generated various kinds of desires, our mind has got a lot of information inside it, and mind works as a salesperson. The mind is going to convince you, and the mind is going to tell you that this thing, this material object, this thing is very, very nice. If you do this, you're going to have, you're going to enjoy, right? That's what the mind is going to tell you. Like, for example, and it's always misguiding you. For example, for a teenager, right? Or even maybe less than a teenager now, right? The parents tell that, hey, look here, don't smoke. Is it right or wrong on part of the parents to say that? To tell a child
It's
not
right.
to? It's right,
Correct.
right? But what does the mind tell? Look here, what about your freedom, buddy? Look at your parents, they're constantly telling you they're such nags. You need your freedom, fight for it. If you don't want to fight for it, do it on the sly, right? So the child thinks that, his freedom is being compromised, and he might either fight and get his way or might do it on the sly, but he will smoke a cigarette, right? And then it is first one puff, and then two more puffs, then one cigarette, two cigarettes, one full pack, and 10 packs a day. You have no idea when that happened, right? And then when the disease strikes, then is it a freedom or is it a bondage? Right? So what is actually a bondage? Smoking cigarette is actually a bondage. It is not your right or your freedom that I'll do whatever I want to do and I will do that, right? But the mind is going to present things in such a manner to you, right? And like a salesperson, it will do that. And if we succumb, then we succumb till we are completely, tied up. The second is the mind also, the mind also thinks it's very smart and says that it can solve your problems. And that if you rake your mind, that you'll be able to solve your material problems by yourself. But what happens when we rake our minds and solve our problems, material problems by ourselves? We end up creating more material problems, right? So the mind and this acting as a mediator and saying, hey, you know what? I can solve your problems. This mediator will start acting on you at the worst time, when the least time that you want the mind to come up with such things. And for example, when you sit down and you want to chant, right? When you want to sit down and you want to chant, then the mind is going to bring up your worldly problems back into your focus. And you say, this is what needs to be done. And, my child is sick, or, the political situation of the country is not right. And it'll take you so far away. Right? Does it ever happen to you, or is it just me?
No, it happens.
It happens. Right? Yeah. So we have got such a formidable enemy right with us, right? So what can we do? We have read, well, at least let's just first try to analyze. Like if there is, when we remember, what was that? In Bhagavad Gita in the beginning, in the very first chapter, the Dhṛtī-gṛhītayā is saying, what did it do? So then he says that Duryodhan goes and starts looking at the army of the Pandavas, right? Paschyetam Pandu Putranam, right? He's saying, oh, they have put a vyuha, it's very this, and they are like, you are intelligent student, Dhṛtī has done that, right? So Duryodhan is looking at the enemy, analyzing the enemy, and then thinking of taking a particular course of action. So the same thing we also need to do. We need to find the strength of the enemy. And if you know the strength of the enemy, then in order to win that war with the enemy, all that we need is something stronger than that enemy, right? That's how the war is won, right? Whoever is stronger wins the war. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita comes to our rescue as usual. And let's see. Okay, here. Indriyani paranyahur indrebhya param manaḥ manastastu para buddhir yo buddhe parasastu saha. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. What do you say about that? Do you like it?
It's true.
What is it that will help you now in the war? What can help you?
To control the mind.
Who will help?
Control the senses.
Who will help?
The intelligence will help.
Sorry, I can't hear.
Motherji, intelligence will help to control the mind.
Intelligence, exactly. Oh, my volume was very low. Okay. Yeah, intelligence, right? So in the Bhagavad Gita, we read intelligence is going to help us, right? Let's go back and read through that verse a little bit more, and then we'll come back to our current verse, which is there. Okay, so let's see. Yeah. So in the Purport, Prabhupada is saying, the senses are different outlets for activities of lust. Lust is reserved within the body, but it is given vent through the senses. Therefore, the senses are superior to the body as a whole. These outlets are not in use when there is superior consciousness or Kṛṣṇa consciousness. In Kṛṣṇa consciousness, the soul makes direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the hierarchy of bodily functions, as described here, ultimately ends in the Supreme Soul. Bodily action means the function of the senses, and stopping the senses means stopping all bodily actions. Right? But since the mind is active, even though the body may be silent and at rest, the mind will act as it does during dreaming. But above the mind is the determination of the intelligence. Very, very important. Determination of the intelligence. And above the intelligence is the soul proper. If therefore the soul is directly engaged with the Supreme, and naturally all other subordinates, namely the intelligence, mind, and senses, will be automatically engaged. In the Kṛtvā Upanishad, there is a similar passage in which it is said that the objects of sense gratification are superior to the senses and mind is superior to the sense objects. If therefore the mind is directly engaged in the service of the Lord constantly, then there is no chance that the senses will become engaged in other ways. This mental attitude has already been explained. Param drishtva nivartate. If the mind is engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is no chance of it being engaged in lower propensities. In the Kṛtvā Upanishad, the soul has been described as Mahan, the great. Therefore, the soul is above all, namely the sense objects, the senses, the mind, and the intelligence. Therefore, directly understanding the constitutional position of the soul is the solution of the whole problem. What's the solution of the whole problem?
Understanding the position of the soul.
Understanding the position of the soul, correct. With intelligence, one has to seek out the constitutional position of the soul and then engage the mind always in Kṛṣṇa consciousness. That solves the whole problem. A neophyte spiritualist is generally advised to keep aloof from the objects of the senses. But aside from that, one has to strengthen the mind by use of intelligence. If by intelligence one engages one's mind in Kṛṣṇa consciousness by complete surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then automatically the mind becomes stronger. And even though the senses are very strong, like serpents, they will be no more effective than serpents with broken fangs. But even though the soul is the master of the intelligence and mind, the senses also, still, unless it is strengthened by association with Kṛṣṇa in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to the agitated mind, right? So clearly, after describing this particular hierarchy, Kṛṣṇa is saying that, okay, just thinking the fact that I am a soul and I'm superior, that's not going to happen. You have to do something also about it, because you are surrounded by a very formidable enemy, which is your mind, right? So here, let's go back to our verse for today and see what our verse for today is talking about. So they were talking about śanair. They say, gradually, step by step, you should become situated in trance, samādhi, by means of intelligence. So you see, this verse is also talking about intelligence. It's saying, and why it is saying intelligence? Because taking the views of 3.42 from Bhagavad Gita, where it is saying that intelligence is above the mind, right? So take help of a stronger person to help you fight the war against the mind. And by means of intelligence, so you are using your intelligence, but then you have to be sustained in your activity. So if I'm trying to focus my attention on Kṛṣṇa, or my mind on Kṛṣṇa, then I should have some conviction. Conviction is very important before determination can come in, right? So like last time, we heard the story of a little bird whose eggs were stolen by the ocean, right? And what this little bird said, asked the ocean to give me back my eggs, and the ocean just laughed and ignored her, right? And then she had the determination. She had the determination that I'm going to empty this ocean, and she started doing that. So there was determination, but behind the determination, there was some conviction, right? That as a mother, it is her duty to protect her children. And yes, the ocean has taken away the eggs, right? So you have to be convinced first, right? So you see, determination will come after you are convinced about something. It's going to. So for you to be convinced that I should do devotional service, I should practice Kṛṣṇa consciousness, right? You'll sit down and start, with the regimentation. So a new year, lot of people, register in health programs. I'm going to lose 40 pounds of weight. I'm going to build, muscles or whatever, I'm going to healthy. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, right? And then by the time, so the membership goes up in January. And by the time it's February, March, people start dropping out. They are not able to sustain it. And they're not able to sustain it. Why? Because the conviction is not strong enough. They're not determined to do it. Why? Because so when it comes to these kind of situations, right? And when you look at, when it comes to devotional service especially, right? You look at the prize. Prize that you get when you win something? So you should look at the prize and not at the price. P-R-I-C-E. Don't look at the P-R-I-C-E. Look at the P-R-I-Z-E. Okay? So now, question to you. If you engage in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, what do you think? And your answers can differ. What do you think is the prize if you engage in Kṛṣṇa consciousness? No prize?
Mataji, I get hope and I get happiness.
So your prize is that you will get happiness, right? Perhaps everlasting happiness.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the prize. Okay. Varshana Mataji.
Mataji, I'll develop that faith in myself that I'm going to get it. I'm going to have chant them while chanting the holy name. I will be able to pay attention on every syllable and chant, meditate on every syllable and chant the holy name. Then Kṛṣṇa will surely 100%, he will bestow his mercy on me. There is no doubt in my mind about that. So that conviction comes in my mind. That is the prize for me.
But the prize is in one word or two words. What is the prize in your case?
Conviction.
So by doing devotional service, you will get conviction.
Yeah.
To do
devotional service.
Okay. All right. And then Madhava Sangini Mataji.
Hopefully, by doing this process, Kṛṣṇa will look at me sometime.
What is the prize? Give me the prize.
Prize to get Kṛṣṇa.
So Kṛṣṇa will look at you.
Yeah.
Or you will see Kṛṣṇa, something like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
get.
All right. Okay. And Lakshmi Mataji, what do you think is the prize for you?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. I think I'll get this shelter, Mataji.
You'll get his shelter? And
Yes.
what do you mean by shelter? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Either his lotus feet or his dham or anything, Mataji. I'll get the permanent shelter.
Okay. All right. So that is what you think will be the price of getting devotional service, right? Okay. Anybody else? Madhav Sangini Mataji?
Mm.
You already said that, right?
Yeah.
Kumaladi Mataji didn't tell us. Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully, maybe after many more births, I don't know how many are left, but hopefully never to take birth again.
So the prize will be never to come back to this material world. The prize
Yeah.
is getting out of this material world, right? That is
Yeah.
the prize for you. Okay. Varshana Mataji, you want to change your prize?
Yeah, Mataji, I will get out of this cycle of birth and death.
I can tell you that Sukumal Radha Mataji will be your companion. So
Sukomal Mataji spoke so well the other day, Mataji. Oh my God. I was really impressed.
Yeah, so was I.
good for you, Sukumal Radha
Thank you.
Mataji.
Thank
Guru
you.
Maharaji also appreciated so much.
Yes, yes. I
Yeah.
was sitting there and I was looking, wow.
Mm.
So, so now you all have a prize that you have your eyes on, right? Now tell me, what is the price that you have to pay to get your prize? What is the price that you're paying?
Dedication.
Okay. So you have to be dedicated and you don't want to be dedicated. So you have to build it up. Okay. Lakshmi?
Leave our material desire, Mataji, whatever we wish, whatever we, with all our contamination, with false ego, that I have to leave, Mataji.
Okay. So your prize is give up your material desires. That price you have to pay before you can get to your prize. Okay. Anybody else knows what price they're paying?
Mataji, for me, controlling the senses.
Okay, the price you have to pay is to control your senses.
Control my senses, yeah.
And let them not just go like that. Okay. Anybody else wants to share the price? Tol mol ke bol.
Bring the mind to Kṛṣṇa all the time.
Okay, so that's the price
And
that you have.
that means a lot of effort. Yeah.
Okay, that means a lot of effort. Okay. Right. Now you have to compare the price and the price. The price has to be much better and more than the efforts you are putting in. if that math doesn't work out for you, then the conviction is not going to come.
Say it again, Mataji, once.
So the price that you're going to get, whatever price you said, right?
Yeah.
That price has to be a higher level. For example, you go and buy a 10 rupee lottery and the price is 1 million rupees or 10 lakh rupees, right? If you subtract your efforts, subtract what you got, what you invested from what you got, it should be positive, right? You got 1 lakh and you bought a 10 rupee lottery ticket. So you're like, yeah, I think I'm convinced, I should do that. Right? If the returns that you get on your investment are more than what you invested, you will be convinced of investing, right? So similarly, devotional service is also an investment. So your conviction will come only when you understand that whatever is the price or the goal that I'm aiming for, right, is worth it and is worth much more than whatever I have to spend on getting to that goal. And whatever I have to spend on getting to the goal basically is giving up so many of these material things. You all said in so many different ways, but basically that only, right? Controlment senses, what's the problem with this sense? They're going after material things, right? I have to do this like that, right? No illicit sex, no gambling, no meat eating. All this is the price that you're going to pay. But what is the ultimate price that you get? You get to stay with Kṛṣṇa. You get a love which is infinite, continuous, true, genuine, shelter, all those kind of things that you said. So you have to constantly compare and use your intelligence. Because the mind is constantly telling you, every time that you give up something, the mind is lamenting. Constantly lamenting. Oh, I had to give up this. Oh, I so badly want to eat this. Oh, and like that. I want to have this. I want to do this. I'm not allowed to do. Mind is telling you this, but the intelligence, which is higher than the mind, in the end, you use your intelligence to convince you that no, it is worth it. I mean, if you look at the Olympic champions, especially the ones, the athlete, who are the ones who do the gymnasts, right? They perform such miraculous feats, right? They're flying in the air and taking somersault and then lying on their feet. They start very young. When they are like 2. The teacher very strong and very, strict and making them do exercises and get up early in the morning and do everything. All these exercises. That is the price they pay. But what is the prize? Gold medal. So they do the balance. The intelligence does the balance. The calculations, right? So now we are asking, Bhagavad Gita is asking you to do a higher calculation. Right? And so now the question is that how do I know? How do I know that my price is better than how do I know that the price is better than the price? Yeah, how do I know that? Yeah, just give me 1 second. There's some message that has come. I need to take care of that. Okay. How do you know that?
But Mataji, never mind.
Yeah, no, Mataji, Sukamal Mataji, please go ahead.
So, like Varshana Mataji and I, we said that we don't want to take birth again. So that means life after life of devotional service, burning karmas from the past lives, burning karmas in this life, and gathering so much sukriti. But how do we know that when it will be our last time to take birth?
Then will we know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then that price is, we don't know the price of the prize.
You don't know the price of the price, but I was saying, how do we know about the price? How do you know that the price that you are aiming for, it is really worth it? How will I?
Yes, Mataji, it is really worth it
Of course,
because
what else you
I
want?
get that
Yeah,
conviction from
you don't want to
the
come back to this world again. So, of course, the prize is worth it.
Why don't you want to come back to this world again? There's so much of enjoyment. It's a beautiful world. Just go to Lake Tahoe.
No, no, no. But you know what we mean.
How
You
did you
know
come to
that
know
it,
about that?
huh?
How did you come to know about that?
By studying all the scriptures and doing
yes,
devotional
Exactly.
service.
yes, Mataji.
Exactly.
This is what I was
Exactly. Exactly. So, scriptures, like in the fifth chapter, we read, Yehi samsparsha jab hoga, dukkha yonaya evate, adi antavanta kaunteya, nateshu ramate buddha. So, what's it? Yehi samsparsha jab hoga. So, this enjoyment that you see, this material enjoyment, is that just when your senses come in contact with the sense objects, right? But dukkha evaya yunyate, these will lead to ultimate dukkha. Adi antavant, tu kaunteya, hey kaunte, hey Arjuna, hey son of Kunti, there is a adi, means there's a beginning, and there is an end, ant. There is a beginning and an ant to this happiness. That is why one of you wanted happiness, Priyanka Mataji, everlasting, right? Because they know there is an antman. Antavant tu kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. That's what buddha means, those who are intelligent. So again, with the help of intelligence, you read the scriptures, right? And the problem here is that our mind is very powerful, very, very powerful. And sometimes it can even overtake the intelligence because it's so agitated, right? Sometimes a small child can move so fast and, fling the leg so fast that the mother is going to stop, the mother will fall down. Sometimes they can take, the weak can overcome like that. By momentarily, acquiring godlike powers, the mind sometimes has godlike powers, right? A thought comes into our mind like, okay, let's do this. And before we even know, we have walked away, right? And done whatever the mind told us to do. So we said that, you hear something, you are convinced, partly, not fully like that. And then you go and take the scriptures, right? And so when you start reading the scriptures, now what happens with the mind is that the mind is going to tell you, okay, I want to go and go to Mangalarti. It's very difficult. Driving in at 4 o'clock in the night, it's very difficult. What if an animal comes in front of your way? What if there are drunkards on the way and your car is going to be bashed? And you'll feel sleepy throughout the day and you've got work to do. That's the job of the mind. It imagines pleasures and produces fears in your head. It magnifies problems for us. So the mind is going to do that for us all the time. And constantly, for anything that is there, it'll say, oh, but what, oh, but what, but what that. So that is why we have to go into the scriptures. So the mind is very complicated. Mind is very, because for every one thought, it'll generate, 600 other thoughts. Right? For example, if I say the word Mahabharat, right? Did you hear the word Mahabharat?
Yes.
Okay. How many thoughts came into your mind?
The whole battle of Kurukshetra.
Right. So many thoughts are going to come to your mind the moment one word is there, right? So it will go in this direction, this direction, this direction, this direction. And sometimes people think that this is a good thing. I'm a thinker, I think. I'm a jnani, I think. On the other hand, when you do devotional service, people say it's very simple. Right? So when you're doing devotional service, for example, I remember when I went to my sister-in-law's place in India, at that time I was not into Krishna consciousness, but they, as a matter of, they used to follow tradition. So it was Ekadashi. And so she had kept Ekadashi fast. I didn't even know. what she was doing, but anyway, she was observing Ekadashi fast, and she was talking to her maidservant, and the maidservant was also fasting. She also had Ekadashi fast, right? So there is simplicity in devotional service. You don't have to be a jnani to pursue devotional service. But the problem is that we have got a mind. And so if you're doing devotional service, your mind can come and tell you that, you know what, it's very simple. Are you really sure? Are you really convinced? This is the right way to go. You have such a short life and you're just going to spend in, ringing a bell and then offering prasadam and then chanting and repeating the names all the time. What does it mean to repeat the name all the time? Right? The mind can come and tell you that. And pressurize you on the the bad point or the bad investment that you're making by investing your life in devotional service, right? So it's everything is in the head, but devotional service is something that has got to do with the devotional service heart, right? So, but we have to understand that devotional service, although appears to be very simple, is it very simple?
No.
Right? So what you can do is that if our mind has got this thing about wanting to indulge in complicated things and complicating things, fine. Read our scriptures. They are very in-depth. Very, very in-depth. Right? For example, a person out of devotional, all of us out of love for Kṛṣṇa have gone in front of the altar and cried one day or the other, right? Now you can read the scriptures and you can find the exact Sanskrit word for that. But sometimes you're not able to speak. What is the word for that? What is this? What are the symptoms? This, that, that. You can rake your brains onto that. It is good. You are still dealing with the scriptures which are not different from Kṛṣṇa, so you're still touching Kṛṣṇa. Rather than raking your brain on, does God exist or not? You can also do that, right? So your scriptures are going to come in handy. And when you start reading the scriptures, because scriptures are not different from Kṛṣṇa, they are his words, they will have their effects, and then your mind will be gradually cleansed of all the nonsense that is there, right? So you have to go beyond, from residing in your head and doing things from your heads, go and start doing things from the heart, right? And start doing devotional service. The mind will be conquered. And that's what when Arjuna says, Chanchalam hi mana Kṛṣṇa pramati balvadranam, right? So then Kṛṣṇa acknowledges and he says, yeah, you can do that. But he says that by abhyasena vairagena, right? So he says that by practice and by giving up things, then you will be able to control your mind. He's saying that very clearly, right? So one of the things that is also very important when you read scriptures, right, is that don't take giant leaps. Or you can take giant leaps, but they could be sustained by something else, right? So what is a giant leap? Giant leap is I take time off from work, 7 days, 10 days, 15 days. I shut myself up in a room and I read the whole Bhagavad Gita, right? I've read the whole Bhagavad Gita, it's done. That is taking a big giant leap. The other way is I'm going to read a shloka, just a shloka of the Bhagavad Gita every day, right? And why do I have to read the Bhagavad Gita every day? We have Chad, right, which says read the Bhagavad Gita every day. And why not read the whole Bhagavad Gita once and be done? Why cannot just read all the 18 chapters in one day and then be done with it? Right? Because when you're done with it, you're done with it. And you're back, right? It'll have a little effect, but what is more impactful is just reading one verse. one shloka a day. And then when you read that shloka a day, and you read another one the next day, and you read another one the next day, what is happening is you are forming a habit. The first reading is impelling you to go and do the reading again, go the reading again, go and do the reading again. So then this is something that you'll be able to sustain, and it'll become a habit with you. And reading the Bhagavad Gita every day, one slok only, is going to sustain for a much longer time than saying that I'm going to read it only once in 1 year. Because if you forgot to do that on 1st of January, then you're done. You have to wait for next year. If you made a resolution, right? So always, just like one verse that you read propel you into the next verse that you're going to read the next day, right? And it'll soak into your psyche much easier, right? Like that. So there's a very in this particular verse also there's something that is there I wanted to also bring up here. Let me share my screen again with you all. Share screen, and we have our screen 625. Share. Okay. He's saying gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone, and the mind should think of nothing else, right? So the conviction, once you have the conviction, right? They're saying remove your things from the material objects. And once you have the conviction, you'll be very surprised at the actions that you do. So there's this very interesting story of a man who prayed to Lord Shiva. It very nicely worshipped Lord Shiva. And so when Lord Shiva appeared, Lord Shiva said, okay, what do you want? So he said, I want, some nice, very nice benediction, some very nice, thing. So then Shiva said, okay, go there to that village, Vrindavan, and there is a sage. And his name is Sanatana Goswami. Go there and ask him for whatever you want. So Komal Radhe is smiling, she knows the story. So then this person went there and met Sanatana Goswami, paid his obeisances. Sanatana Goswami says, okay, what brings you here? So he says, I want something very precious. I prayed and to Lord Shiva, I wanted some benediction. And Lord Shiva said that, I should come to you. And I have heard that you have got the Chintamani. So what is a Chintamani? Chinta means thinking. So Chintamani is a stone that you keep it in your heart, and then you think about something, and whatever you think about, you're going to get it. You want gold, you think about gold, you'll get gold. Right? And so a similar story of Chintamani, I read, and it's very famous as the Midas touch, right? The king Midas was there, right? And so he had a stone. Somebody gave him something that you touch anything with it, that thing is going to become gold. So he's very happy. He touches his pen, he touches this, that, all gold, gold, gold. And then his daughter comes running and he touches her, and she becomes gold. So this is it about this material world. Adi antavanta kantaya nateshu ramte vada, and yahi samsparsha ya bhoga dukkha evaya yonate. So this man, this king, ultimately had dukh because of this that he had, right? So anyway, so that is one interpretation of the Chintamani. But this in Chintamani, you have to think about something and then touch it. So stories from our Shastras and weapons from Shastras are much more safer, like Brahmastra. He will chant a mantra so that it will only go and hit that particular target and not go and hit anybody else. So anyway, so he goes to Sanatana Goswami and says, I have heard that you've got a touchstone. May I have it? So he says, oh yeah, go there outside the home. It's lying in the trash can, the bottom of the trash can. So he's very happy. He runs outside and takes it, goes out, goes back, offers obeisances, runs out, right? And then he's like, okay, I've got the Chintamani with me. So he asks for this, he asks for that, he gets this, he gets that. And in the night, when he's going to sleep, he takes the Chintamani and then he's carefully putting it underneath his pillow because he's scared now. He can't put it in the almirah. What if the thieves come and this and that? So he's trying to keep it very safe with him. And while he was doing that, he was in the process of putting the Chintamani there. He suddenly remembered that, oh, but Sanatana Goswami had put it in the trash can. So there must be something even more precious than this. So the next day he runs back to Sanatana Goswami and says, Sanatana Goswami, answer me this question. What is it which is more precious than the Chintamani? And Sanatana Goswami says, okay, are you ready? He says, yes, I'm convinced. He says, really? He says, yeah, I really want to have that. He said, okay, you have to pay a price for the prize. He says, what is the price? Well, you have to take the Chintamani and you have to go to the lake in the village and you have to throw it into the lake and then come back. And this man was convinced. And he throws it, comes back, and then Sanatana Goswami instructs him on bhakti yoga. So this verse is also saying that throw away your Chintamani and focus on a prize and higher prize. And to know what is a higher prize, we should take the help of the scriptures slowly. Śanair. Not that I finished my Bhagavad Gita in 3 hours, flat, and I'm done. Śanair, slowly. Because slow and steady is going to win our race for us. Okay? Śanair. So I'll stop here and open up for questions or reflections.
Mataji, one thing came to my mind when you were talking about the war. What comes to your mind? It came to my mind that though this war was, I mean, so much of devastation, so many people died. One can think on that line. Another thing came to my mind that if this war had not happened, then Kṛṣṇa wouldn't have said the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Thank God it happened that he told this to Arjuna and we got Bhagavad Gita, and today this message is for so many. It is, improving the life of so many people.
That is true. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else? Any other question? Lakshmi Mataji has raised her hand. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I have a question, Mataji.
Okay.
So is there any difference between Ashtanga Yoga and Chakra Yoga, Mataji? If there is a difference, what is it, Mataji? Could you please explain? Hare Krishna.
I don't do Chakra Yoga, so I won't be able to answer that question. We try to stay away from Chakra Yoga, especially.
So it's Chakra Yoga. So technically, Mataji, it's like they are doing on Paramatma, they are not doing on Paramatma, they do indirectly. I'm getting confused on this, Mataji. It's coming in the second canto of Bhagavatam, I think. So that's why I'm checking. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So, well, in a nutshell, I can tell you that there are energies in our body, many, unexplored. The human body is very, very powerful. We have not explored that energy. And what they do through the Chakra Yoga is that there are 7 energy spots, and we raise our energy level and our consciousness and our constitutional energy to the highest level, highest chakra, which is there on the top of the head. There are other things also that they do, but we stay away from that. We just stay on Bhakti Yoga. And that's the best thing. Sometimes in Bhagavatam, you have to understand that the Bhagavatam was spoken for not only to Parikshit Maharaj, but was spoken for all those who were sitting there and all those who are going to read Bhagavatam, in the later. And when we come across such things, then and read all these about it, or all the various kinds of devotional service, ultimately, all of them are just saying that stick with Bhakti Yoga. So do not linger too much in those other places. I would strongly advise. Yeah. Okay, it is there. Fine. I'm moving on. I'm already, on a better thing. I have a better
True, Mataji. I'm not checking to practice Mataji. Anyhow, I'm not even practicing Ashtanga Yoga.
Yes.
But I want to understand how it's getting related. When they discuss the topic, I couldn't better catch it. So that's why. Mataji.
Yeah,
But,
let me know
thank
what
you,
sections.
Mataji.
Yeah, let me know what sections were there that you didn't catch it, and I can tell you offline.
Yeah, sure, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah. Because, we might just think that, I'm just doing it for that. Let me just understand it a little bit. Let me just go there. And where will you find? If you don't find enough on Srimad Bhagavatam, you will go into the internet.
Okay.
Right. And so what happens? This is what the mind does. Every time you do something, the mind is recording all that. And next time you're in a situation, it will present that again to you. So that's why it is better to walk on a razor sharp edge. Just stick with Bhakti Yoga. Because other things are very alluring and very interesting. Might seem very, but adi antavanta konteya. Nateshu ramte buddha. Yeah, but send me whatever you didn't understand, and I can have a session.
Yeah, sure, Mataji. And you were also mentioning about I want the shloka number, Mataji, if possible. The sense is going behind sense object. So what is that, Mataji? Is it 5 point something you mentioned, but I didn't catch
522. Yehi samsparsha jha hoga. I think it's 522.
Yes,
one of the two. Yeah.
Okay.
5.20.
Okay.
Yeah. It's towards the end of chapter 5. Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, it's a very nice verse. Madhav Sangini, Mataji. Okay, was it an old hand that you had raised? I see the hand is lowered now.
So it's really good that we are doing this chapter, because for our Bhakti Shastri semester, they keep saying that study the yoga ladder. So it's reinforcing.
Yeah. Śanair. That's why we do one verse of Bhagavad Gita a day. Because we're not in a hurry. We're not in a hurry. And you were also saying that, I think I got sidetracked when I was answering. The question was that I want to, we don't know. We don't know how many birds are we going to take to leave and go, right? So see the reward of bhakti. What is the reward of bhakti? We might think that the reward of bhakti is I'm going to get out of this world. The reward of, no. The reward of bhakti is bhakti itself. Once you start doing the bhakti, that act is the reward, right? And that's what Kṛṣṇa also says to the gopis. He says, you have done so much for me, I cannot even repay you in anything. Let this be the reward that you'll continue to do bhakti. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kañcati samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labte param. So even after you realize your soul, what are you doing? You're still continuing to do bhakti of the Lord, right? Which you started with in the first place, right? And so the interesting thing is that that's the what is that verse? Narayana parasarve na kutaschina bhivati swarg apavarga narkeshu api tulyartha darshina. So it says Narayana parasarve, one who has taken shelter of the Lord, right? Somebody had said that their aim was to be in Lord's shelter, right? So if you have taken shelter of the Lord, right? And shelter of the Lord can only be taken by bhakti. It comes from the heart, not from the mind. The mind will come and tell you, how can you take shelter of somebody who you don't even see? Right? But the heart works in a different way. Right? So Narayana parasana nakutaschina bhivyati. When you have surrendered to the Lord, the sweet surrender, out of love for Lord, you have surrendered, He's going to take care of it, right? Me. And so then, swarg apavarga narkeshu, whether they are in the swarg planet, heavenly planets, whether they are on a hellish planet, any planet, they don't care. Api tulyartha darshana, for them they appear to be same. Why? Because all that they want to do is devotional service. You can do devotional service in hellish planets also. Right?
But in many of the verses, it's like Prabhupada says that if you do this and if you do this, you will never come back. You will always attain my eternal abode. So
Correct. That's one
that
level.
itself is like a thing to follow. That
It's to follow, and that is where
yeah,
the yoga ladder comes into picture, right? Now, when you're
yeah.
now you're climbing the ladder of bhakti yoga,
Hmm.
right? There's a ladder everywhere because there are stages everywhere. Bhakti also there will be stages, right?
Yeah.
So in bhakti, at one level of the bhakti, it's like I want to get out of this place and I want to serve Krishna and Golok Vrindavan,
Hmm.
right? That's also a good aim to have. But higher than that is the bhakti which says that I don't care. I don't care whether I'm sent to the hellish planet. And there's a famous story, right? Where sometimes they say Uddhav, sometimes they say Narada, who was talking to Krishna, and he said, who's your best devotees and what's the deal about these gopis and all that? And then Krishna says, okay, go tell them, go to this and that and tell them that I have a headache. Or he tells him a plan. And so this person first goes to, some famous, Muni, Rishi Muni, and says, Krishna has got a headache and he wants the dust of your feet. He says, what? Dust of your feet? That jaghanya aparad. I cannot do that. It's sin to put my dust. He refuses. So that way he keeps on going one after the other. Everybody refuses. And then he goes to the gopis, right? What do the
Yeah.
gopis say? Oh, Krishna. He takes
Yeah.
they take off the dust and give it to him. Then Narada says, you don't care? Do you know what a big offense you're going to do? You're going to rot in hell? He says, yeah. As long as it cures Krishna of his headache, we are fine being in any hellish planet. Right? So that's a very high level. And we will all reach that thanks to Srila Prabhupada, that stage. We are there towards the ladder. And it's okay to have a goal. You can have small incremental goals. In the beginning, it could be, let me give up my material things. Okay, after I give up my material things, the heart is still bad. See, so it's easy. If you read in this chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita, you remember where they were talking about in one of the verses, they said, Sama loshtasma kanchana. He says, pebbles and stones and gold, right? It sees everything as the same, right? And then in the next verse, or the verses later, it says that he will consider enemies and friends and mediators and neutral people all with the same thing, right? So as you see, this is also a gradual elevation. First is you are giving up the material things. Okay, I don't care about gold. To me, gold and stone are the same thing. But then the problem is, even if I give the gold, the most difficult thing is to deal with people, right? And that becomes a challenge. And if you pass that test, that I have a difficult person around me, and I am going to behave like a Krishna conscious person, right? And tolerate, then you will not believe how strong you're going to get from there. And that's why they're saying that if you're able to treat your friend and an enemy on the same level, what does it mean to take your friend and your enemy at the same level? It means your reactions to what they do to you will be the same. Whether a friend comes to you and is friendly with you, you'll smile. When an enemy comes to you, you will still smile. That doesn't mean that we will not take precautions against the enemy. We will take, but our behavior with them will be the same. And that's very, very difficult thing to do. Right? There's a story about a man this is Gautam Buddha's story, that a man heard from somewhere that found somebody nice devotee and said, okay, I want to go to who's your guru and all. He said, Gautam Buddha is my guru. So he said, can he become my guru also? He said, well, guru is going to choose the disciple, but you can go and ask. So he goes to Buddha the next day, and then Buddha says, okay, I'll answer your question tomorrow based on your answers. So first thing I want you to do is to spend the night and give a list of all the people in the world with whom you get along, don't get along, but can manage, and absolutely cannot get along. So give me 3 buckets of information there. So this man, started thinking in the night and said, okay, you know what? I'm based in India. I've never put my step outside India. And there are so many countries, so many people living there. Easy. Don't know them, have no problems with them. So, I can just put them all in one bucket. And then India, okay, I don't know people in Kerala, I don't know people up there, So there also he was sorting it out according to states and all that. So that way he came. Okay, and then, okay, I actually don't get along well with my sister-in-law. Okay, I don't get along well with this. Oh, but I can manage, I can do this. So he had that list of people that he doesn't get along well with, but he can manage those people. And then he started doing this, like, from the list of people that he doesn't get along with. Can I manage? Yes. Can I manage? Yes. There was one person. He said, no, I cannot get along with this person. No way. We just don't gel. So next day he goes to Gautam Buddha and he says that, okay, pranam. And I brought my list. So Gautam Buddha says, okay, tell me the list. So he gives the three sections. And then he comes to the third section and said, this is one person that I just cannot get along with. So, and then tell me, Gurudev, what do I have to do to become your disciple? So Gautam Buddha said, you need to get along with that one person.
Oh.
That's the test. And that is what chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita on devotional service says. Yasman no dujite loko, loka na uddujite chayaha, harsham harsh bhayo degar mukto yasa. He's very dear to Kṛṣṇa. So what he says is that somebody, the one who does not agitate others and one who is not agitated by others. So not agitating others is very simple. You are getting angry at somebody, or oh yeah, well, somebody is doing something bad, and you're like, no, I will not do it. You are philosophically armed. You are saying that he's behaving bad with me. If I, he's behaving badly, and or let's take a better example. Somebody has got something, and I really want it. So I can steal, I can manipulate, and I can get that thing. Right? That's one way. But then I'm a devotee. I will not do anything, because if I do such thing, that other person is going to get agitated. Or bad language, foul language, scolding, passing comments, taunting. I will not do that. Right? The other thing is when others come and agitate us. That is where the real test is. Because we are all bhaktas. We know how to tolerate. and from our side, we will not do. But the problem is when others are doing it, what is my reaction? So between the time that there is a stimulus that comes from you, from the outside, and when your mind comes and tells you certain things, please allow some time for your intelligence to tell you what is right and what is not right to do. Right? And that is the real test. So as we progress in devotional service, we will not give up difficult cases where people are not getting along with us, right? And sometimes there's a very interesting thing is that when devotees behave badly with us, it's like, how do we understand that, right? And it's very nicely explained by one of our acharyas. They say that as you progress in devotional service, you become so good. You become so good that, somebody did something to you and you are so forgiving. There's no way that you're retaliating or doing anything. So people speak very badly, they insult you, and then you say, oh, if some people insult me, they neglect me, actually my spiritual blood goes. It's very good, like that. And please, oh Lord, forgive them. They are materialistic people. They don't know what they're doing. That's why they're treating me like that. But when a devotee comes and does that, then we are shaken, right? How come a devotee, how come a Vaishnava is doing like that? And that is done on purpose. So that whatever little karmic reactions that we had, that we have to suffer, we will suffer now because a devotee did it to us. So that's why in 4.17 it says, this karmana gahana. To understand this karma is very difficult. Karmic reactions is very, very difficult.
But won't that devotee also accumulate so many karmic reactions for treating that way?
You don't know whether it's just telling, he's settling scores. And a good devotee will always think it as Okay, good. My scores are settled.
Mm.
Because if you don't settle the score, what's going to happen? You have to come back again to settle the score.
Mm.
Right? And you said you don't want to come back to the material world, right? So one of the ways of settling, making sure you don't come back to the material world is forgive, 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 forgive.
One question, Mother. Yes. Motherji, a devotee knows everything, has read Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, knows the philosophy. And in spite of that, if he or she behaves badly or has, something against the other, then what kind of devotees we are? And then won't Kṛṣṇa feel bad that what kind of devotional service are you doing? I have taught you so much instruction is being given to you. You know it is not correct, and still you are doing. So we will be punished more, I think. The one who is ignorant is ignorant. We are not ignorant, and still we are doing, so naturally we will get more punishment.
Let me bring up a verse, right? I think it's from the 3rd canto. Let me bring up. That'll answer your question. Yeah, it is from the 3rd canto. Where are you, Mr. Verse? Here you are. Aho bakiyam stanakalukutam jigham sayapaya yat asadhavi lebhe gatim dhatri uchitam tatonyam kamba dayalum sharanam rajema. Alas, how can I take shelter of one more merciful than he who granted the position of mother to a she-demon Putana, although she was unfaithful and she prepared deadly poison to be sucked from her breast? Does that answer your question? So, for one thing, it's one thing to read, and the second thing is to practice. Reading Bhagavatam is the job of the jnanis. That's why throughout, even in the Bhagavatam that you are reading, it is saying, do some bhakti, do some work, go clean the toilet in the temple, right? Do some work. Just speculating like that is not right. That is one thing, right? Second thing is, remember, Vedesa sarver aham eva vedyo, Veda eva chaham, right? Sarvasya chaham. So Kṛṣṇa is the Vedas. So if a person has touched the Vedas, reading the Vedas, that effort will not go in vain. But why is this person behaving like this? We talked about this the whole time today. That the mind, agitated mind, in his or her case, is conquering the intelligence. But śanair. Slowly, in this life, they read it. One more life, they might read more because the scriptures won't go in vain. You have done that. And 2.40 says, whatever little you do will get carried to the next life. The next life, you'll be in a better position. And it will have its effect, like Guru Maharaj says, imperceptible effect. Not being able to perceive it now. And we just have to look at our own lives of having spent a decade or so in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, at our own thought processes, right? Our prayers become different. Like somebody is annoying us a lot, and then we don't get along with somebody. Then our prayers could, like prayers of a material person, I won't even speak on Facebook, right? But the prayer of a devotional person will be, can you just do something about it? Can you just make that person better? Because that person is behaving so badly. I'm praying. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that I'm praying to the Lord for other people who are bad. I'm feeling so good. As you progress in devotional service, you'll be like, give me the strength, oh Lord, to handle that person who's going through whatever conscious state that they are going through, that they are speaking like that. It's a very different prayer. Your own prayers will improve as they go.
Yeah, Prahlad Maharaj also tells them that I don't want to go alone. I want to I'm worried about these Buddhas, those who are not paying attention.
Right.
So I want to
Right.
take them along, please. They are not.
Right. Yeah. So Kṛṣṇa, you never know about Kṛṣṇa. And then somebody, somewhere in some place, Brahma quotes the same, our Bakiyam thing. He quotes and he says, Kṛṣṇa, do you have any mercy left to give to me? Because it looks like you gave all to Baki. You've given all to Putana. Do you have any mercy left? Kṛṣṇa is all merciful. So when you use the words, like, when you're reading the scriptures, these are not just words. You have to now apply these words. Like this, when Kṛṣṇa is all merciful, this means that even if I'm not understanding the scriptures, Kṛṣṇa will have Tatte anukampam susamikṣamāno, right? Your anukampa, your mercy, your grace.
Yeah. The other day you told Preeti Mataji, I'm forgetting her name, initiated name. Preeti Mataji, you told Preeti Sethi. Yeah, you told her, you see, when she said, give this mercy to my son, that he should get it. If I don't get it, it's okay. But you told that.
Yeah, I told her. Yeah, he's a reservoir. Yeah. And I quoted the verse. And then talking about śanair, that applies to the Bhagavad Gita verses that we are reciting. And I don't know if any of you noticed that 2 weeks ago, almost, or 10 days ago, I had just put one line from that verse. I want you to, Yaman Artha Udapane. I just didn't get in one line because śanair. One line today, same line tomorrow, new line on Wednesday, same line on Thursday, new line on Friday, like that. You will memorize it. One day, Varshana Mataji, you will. First, you have to be convinced. And so don't take the jump, the quantum jump, a whole Bhagavad Gita chapter, right? Focus on one verse at a time. You will get it. Break it down into pieces, you'll get it.
Very poor at remembering, Mataji.
That's what you're thinking. Sarva sachaham hidi sannimishta matta smita. You see, everybody has the same brain, right? You ask your son, he's a doctor. It's the same machine, right? Human brain. And so if somebody is able to remember more and more, it's something subtle. It's not a thing, right? And in the subtle world, Kṛṣṇa is very powerful. He's powerful everywhere, but you will see his powers in the subtle world even more. Mukam karoti vachalam.
I think.
You wrote that once, remember? Yeah, to your Guru Maharaj. So pray for Guru Maharaj's mercy, and you will be able to do it. And change the mood that I want to memorize this verse because Kṛṣṇa, you will be pleased. Make me a better verse memorizer because I want to please you. You will get it. Okay. Any other questions? We are 7:25. I don't know, Sutapa Mataji is well. She didn't come today.
She had a cataract surgery.
Oh, yeah, she was telling. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so she's recovering. It went well, she said.
It went well? Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so then I'll take your leave. Vaishnavis. All right. Vanchikalpatarubhyascha
Kripasindhubhyevacha
patitanam
patitanam
pavanebhyo
pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Gopremanate. Hari Hari
Ecstatic
Bol.
class. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
the lovely
you.
class.
Sorry, I got late, Mataji. I had gone to the...
No problem. You can listen to the recording, whatever you miss. Okay. All right, girls, we will see you on Sunday, some of you at least.
Yeah.
Take care.